Hello and welcome back to the Thrive in Life and Business podcast. I'm delighted today to be joined by another wonderful client who has been in my world for the past 3 years and since starting his business has really started to create a real movement in the agricultural space. Ben from Thrive in Farming, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. Great to be here. Great to chat.
So, would you love to give our listeners and our YouTube viewers a little insight into you, who you are, and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Ben Martin, and so I'm located just outside Cambridge in East Anglia, heart of the sort of UK arable farming sector. So my my journey really simply was I spent my 20s as a farmer in my own right. So I had a small farm business tenancy in my 20s. In my 30s, I had a bit of a change of direction and moved into corporate farm management. So I spent 7 or 8 years managing large, complex arable business with lots of people, lots of stakeholders, and then into my 40s. I'm early 40s now. I left that path 3.5 years ago now, and on my own. My business is Thrive in Farming predominantly, which is a business that focuses on helping mainly arable farms, but I sort of will help anyone that needs it. So we help attract good people, recruit good people, and retain good people, simply. And then in addition to that, for the last 6 months, I've started building a community called the Farm Staff Network, which, as far as I'm aware, is the only network community in the country which is solely focused on farm staff. So that's what's keeping me busy.
Yeah, I love that. I remember when you first messaged me back in the summer of 2023, and you were like, Tara, I've just heard you interviewed on another podcast and I've got this idea. And I remember just thinking, this is such a good idea. Like, it was all about creating this community that was focused around health, around wellness, around habits and routines, around actually managing life and work, but also then bringing in the personal element of it. What was that driving force for you back then? What was the thing that really motivated that purpose?
So, um, having been deeply ingrained in that sort of corporate in work environment, I was employed. I was getting the monthly salary. I was reporting to various um, managers and stakeholders. I just felt that my position as a farm manager was, I felt like I was quite well looked after. I was, yeah, it's going to sound quite well. So it seemed to me that I was always the one getting the invites to farm walks. I was the one who was getting thank yous from suppliers, maybe a gift bundle at Christmas time. But really, it was the farm staff, it was the guys around me that was making everything happen. And I didn't really realize it when I was involved deep in that sort of in that environment. But once I come out of it, I was thinking, well, there isn't really the same opportunities for farm staff, really. So I didn't really know what I wanted to make initially, and when we first started chatting, but over time, I was getting more and more involved back in the practical side of farming, being closer to guys and girls on the farm, and just realizing that there wasn't uh, a network, there wasn't a community for these people to be part of, to um, to chat together, to solve problems together, to ask questions in like a safe place, really. I had all that as a farm manager in my last role. I could pick up the phone to a network of advisors and people that would help, but that was lacking on that farm staff level. So yeah, that's the drive. I mean, it's progressing all the time. It's very organic. If someone asks or someone suggests, Ben, have you thought about adding this, I don't know, training course to the network, then I will. Um, there's certain members in there that are quite interested in the recipes and the food ideas I put up, so I carry on doing that. But then there's the technical agronomy side. We've got an in-house agronomist who's a friend of mine. Who's very kind with his time. So if anyone's got a question about spraying or whatever, he's straight on it. So yeah, I hope that sort of answered the question in a roundabout way.
I really love the approach that you've taken with that in terms of building it as you go, because I think so many people get so hung up in terms of needing the perfect platform, needing every single thing finalized, needing to know every single thing that's going to be included or how it all works. And I
Yeah.
think needing all of that clarity holds so many people back. And I'm
Yeah.
such a build it as you go kind of person. I'm like, build it and they will come, and you refine it along the way.
Yeah.
But I think that's just such a good approach to take into so many different things. When you first launched that then 6 months ago, what was your mindset around it? Were you like in that mindset of let's just give it my all and tweak as we go? Or were you wanting to have everything perfected before you made it live?
Well, it was very much like, yeah, I want it all perfect. I want it all in place. But that had been, holding me back for probably a good couple of years of it wasn't really procrastinating. It was, I'm not going to launch this until I think I've got like a final product. But at the same time, it's that catch 22 because I didn't really know what 100% people wanted either. So um, I'm pretty sure it was off the back of your live event in January that I just come away from that and just went for it. Um, Chatted to a few other sort of online community owners, and that they were very much the same, just saying, look, just get something launched. Um, my my first target, which I'm nearly at, is 100 members,
Amazing.
and once I get to that point, I know it's just a number, so it doesn't really matter if it's 95 or 105. But once I get to around about that number, I think that then gives me quite a bit of credibility that this is something that is working, and to go out to companies to potentially look at some sponsorship or collaborations, because this is, it's all just me at the moment. It is just me funding it, and which is fine. It's going to stay a free platform for the majority of people who join, but the ideas I've got need some more joined up sort of approach, really. So
Yeah. It's definitely something, and I've said this all along, that's got such massive potential in terms of actually creating something really positive in the agricultural and farming space where people can feel like they are part of something. Because I know that farming is a very community focused area anyway. It is something that people are all in it together. But it's almost then almost taking it into the 21st century of really looking at how things can shift and actually bringing technology into it. So, what's that been like in terms of portraying that message to the members?
um well, and initially so I've launched it as an online platform to start with, very very much with in-person meetups and that in mind, and that has been advertised as that as well. So initially, I honestly thought it would be my real close, like the locality. I mean, East Anglia, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire. It would just be mainly those type of people, or the people located in those regions. But actually, we've got people around the country already, and I'm really glad that I decided just to go forward with that online platform initially, because I think if I'd have just done it as a Cambridgeshire type thing, it wouldn't have got the traction as quickly. So um, look, it's this stuff. Everyone's got their smartphone in their pocket. I've nearly always got my laptop with me. We're always connected, and to have Instagram's great. I still use Twitter for quite a bit of stuff. LinkedIn's great, but they're not environments that are well, they're not vetted for a start. So I vet everyone that comes into the community just with a very simple online form as people join up, because I don't want any bots in there. I don't want uh, salespeople or anyone who's not on farm. Um, so yeah, it's so cool. I don't sit on it all day. I'm a moderator, but I don't have the time to do that. So when I get in of an evening, I go straight on the platform and can see lots of unread messages or where chats have been happening during the day. I thought, oh, this is brilliant. I've brought this together, and people are chatting that just wouldn't have had access to that. Um, so it's not just mindless chat either. It is very much people are going on it to try and find a solution to a problem they've got in front of them a lot of the time. So to know that we, farms and farm staff, farms are so much more efficient than they've ever been, which means they need less people than they've ever needed. So a big farm now, 3,000 acres, for argument's sake, might only have one person on there. That whole ecosystem of people doesn't exist really now. But that's what I'm trying to bring back via like a digital way. So
It's like back in the day, we all had young farmers, didn't we? Like when I was in my like
yeah,
teens and early 20s, we all had young farmers, and like that was the social element and personal development and learning new skills and just getting together and having a good time. And it's almost like you get to your mid 20s and that's completely gone. I actually had a
yeah,
conversation with one of my clients a couple of weeks ago. She's got a farm shop, and she said, I just feel really lonely. And
yeah,
she's actually a one-to-one client. I said, well, something like the Thrive membership would be a really good place for like having connections with other people, much like, your network and your community. It's almost like we're more connected than ever, but also more lonely than ever. And I
yeah,
think having a space for people where they can obviously talk with like-minded people, ask questions from like-minded people, but also I think something that's really important and underrated is having a space where people can show up and ask questions and not feel alone. I know for me personally, times when I've gone through a really tough time, that knowledge and awareness that I'm not alone in going through that tough time, sometimes that's enough to pick yourself back up again and think, well, it's not just me that's going through this or has been through this, other people have as well. And I think there's so much power in that specifically as well, in terms of helping people navigate the highs and lows of life and work and business.
yeah. And look, I agree completely. And I've said this previously to someone else that when you put this stuff out, whether it's online on a public platform like Instagram or within like the community you run or I'm trying to build, you're not always affecting the people that are directly communicating with you. There'll be people sat in the background absorbing all this that are never going to come forward and open up. But they're just as important, aren't they? You're um, I'm sure you get the odd message or sometimes that comes through from someone that might say, "Oh, Tara, what you put out 6 months ago has really helped me navigate this." And you think, I don't remember speaking to this person, but you didn't speak to them, but what they saw helped, and I think that's so important. You can't get too hooked up on the actual direct conversations, because sometimes you don't get those conversations, and you do think, well, actually, is this useful? But I do think there's so many people in the background that are benefiting from what people put out there. So yeah,
I even see it so much more now on social media than I used to, in terms of people are watching, but they're not engaging. Like
mm,
the amount of reach versus people that like and comment is literally completely bucked compared to how it was a few years ago. Years ago you could put up a simple quote and 100 people would like it. Well, now you pour your heart
mm,
out on the internet, tell a big story, loads of people see it, loads of people save it. Do those people also like and comment? No. And I think that's
no,
just such a common thing at the moment. So I think when we're building these networks or building a community or building a brand on social media, yes, we've got to do it for the people that are vocal. They're your biggest raving fans. They'll reply to your stories. They like and comment. They spread the love. but there will be so many people who are dream potential clients who are just quietly lurking. There's a real big audience of lurkers at the moment, and we've got to keep showing up for them as well.
Yeah. 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 And it's the I guess it's if you it's similar concept to dressing up a shop window really well.
Yeah.
These people aren't coming into your shop, but they're browsing every day. They're going past, they're going past, they're going past. And then, I don't know, 6 months' time, all of a sudden they remember they need a birthday present for someone and they go in because they've been seeing this. They've been so yeah, it's nurturing, it's giving value, isn't it, all the time, if you can. And just be ready, I guess, for when that connection sort of comes about. So yeah, look, it's all really exciting. It's a combination of farming, which I love and I breathe, but it's using tech, social media, marketing skills, bit of sales, and yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, love it. Now, something that I know has been really popular with your audience. Oh, why is somebody ringing me? Do they not know we're on a podcast? Um, Something that I know has been really well received with your own audience is your tractor cab lunches with your little plug-in little cooker. Where did the inspiration for that come from? Because I know, having had involvement with the farming world, sometimes it can be really hard to prioritize your protein, to eat properly, and to actually really fuel your body. Where did that idea and kind of concept come from?
Great question. Um, I, I've never really stuck to that sort of like social norm of taking just like a boring packed lunch to work, and and being content with the sort of like the warm ham sandwiches at 1 o'clock. And it's never been me really. And I think probably the earliest little memory I've got is one of my first job on a farm I had probably in my late teens, early 20s. And I sat in the mess room with just some very sort of stuck in a way sort of farm guys. And I just cracked open this sort of like bolognese in a Tupperware pot and put it in the microwave, and all of a sudden all these aromas and everyone's like, well, that smells good, that smells good. And to me, it's just like normal. But these guys were sort of just going through the motions of the boring ham sandwich, whatever. So that was probably the initial thing. But more recently, um, so I follow quite a range of people on Instagram, and generally people that are trying to better themselves, improve themselves, this sort of stuff. And there's a couple of guys, uh, Connor, the digger driver. So he does a similar thing when he's driving his digger on building sites. He'll get out the electric heated lunchbox and start wiring into a nice hot curry or whatever. And then there's Liam, the trucker. I mean, he goes much further than I do, but he'll get out a blooming air fryer in his truck and cook up a roast dinner and stuff like that. But it's fun, but deep down, this is good. This is how we should be eating. There's no basically, Ty, what it comes down to is there's no excuse to be eating shit food at work, and that's my whole premises really. I want to feel good when I'm at work. I want to perform. I want to be effective when I'm on the farm, when I'm operating big machinery, and that doesn't come from a consistent um, lifestyle of smashing Red Bulls, Greg's pasties, or basically just being hungry all day.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's coming back to that whole thing about sort of accessibility. There's only ever been, we live in a world where there's so many gadgets and the electric cookers, I'll take a little camping stove with me to make a fresh brew. Um, and it's just really cool, isn't it? And it's not hard. I know that you're big on like meal prepping and stuff like that. Well, if you're making up a nice, I don't know, turkey stir fry for tea, you literally just make double that portion, take the other half to work, and heat it up the next day.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, but I do think there's a big um, macho thing, if that's the right term, within farming that you can survive on energy drinks and working stupid hours. You can't, and it baffles me that there's employers and people with influence out there that aren't addressing this. Um,
It's so
so yeah,
so important. And it's so nice seeing you kind of share the behind the scenes and the recipes, the ingredients, the nutritional value. Because I know for me personally, there is a massive difference in my energy, particularly in the afternoon, if I have a protein focused lunch or if I have a sandwich and crisps. There is always a crash if I have some like quick, cheap, like sandwich and crisps. I mean, I don't even keep crisps in the house because they are my nemesis. But there is such a dip in my natural energy. And I have to do what I can now to protect my energy. You know, over the
yeah,
past weeks, I've been even more mindful around what I put in. I prioritize meal prep on a Sunday so that I've got something in the fridge that's easy, even when I'm quick, or even if I've bit, or even if I'm busy or I've got a lot going on, there's something quick and easy in the fridge that I can just pull out and just eat. So this week's
yeah,
meal of choice was I had some cooked chicken breast and a three bean like Mediterranean salad.
yeah,
Quick, easy, and
amazing.
and it's good to go. And it's protein
Yeah,
and it's like vegetables in there, and it just fuels me. But I think we
yeah,
have to take more accountability and consideration of what we're actually fueling our bodies and our brains with, because I think
yeah,
we've just got into this epidemic of really busy people and being able to just grab and go. You know, if you go to the
yeah.
services, there is not ever any healthy options at the services. There just isn't.
No, no, no. You're 100% right, but they're not. Um, them those type of businesses aren't. But there's a reason they're not stocking fresh salads and sweet potatoes and this sort of stuff because people just won't go into that type of place for that them products. Well, not the majority anyway. But I think we're coming out of that again, going back to like my previous sort of farm management life. The structure that was around it I don't have anymore. So it's very routine. I knew what I was doing each day, this and that. But my food was all over the place, and
Yeah.
I didn't respect the fuel that I needed, which would have helped my decision making, my the way I spoke to people, and the way people probably approached me, stuff like that. Um, and I just remember so vividly the amount of days where it just felt like I was firefighting all day. It was like I've sorted out one problem and moved straight on to the next and bang, 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 not thinking about myself, not stopping for anything. And right, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but the village I lived in at the time had the most incredible village shop, which stocked all sorts of goodies. Um, and just diving in there for a strong cup of tea and a pack of biscuits just felt normal. It just did. And, some afternoons you get to sort of 2, 3 o'clock. And I just think I've got to shut my eyes. I can't physically, doing everything I can stay awake. But that all come down to my diet that day, that week, that month. And I don't get that now. I hear people talk about it so much, especially in tractor driving, where you are in a vehicle nearly all day. They're like, "Oh, I'm starving. Come 11 o'clock. I've eaten all my lunch. I get to 2 o'clock and I've got to stop. I'm falling asleep at the wheel." That doesn't have to happen. And some really some easy swaps, from going from really crappy, highly processed white bread to sourdough, or some good quality wraps, or just leaving out carbs at that time of day and going all in on protein and veg and fruit. We can do it. I just don't think there's anyone really in the space that is grabbing hold of that. And it, look, I'm not a nutritionist. I wouldn't mind learning a bit more about it, but that's not me. But when we share things that worked for us, I think that can influence people, can't it? And just to finish on that point, the biggest thing that changed for me was when I learned more about protein, really, and the importance of it in our diet, how how much we need if we want to maintain muscle mass, satiation of not feeling hungry all the time. So at my weight and the weight I'm still trying to lose weight. It's just a never-ending battle, but that's another story. Where I want to be, anything from sort of 150 to sort of 180 grams of protein a day is my target. There's You can't really eat poorly if you're focused on that target. You can't get 180 grams of protein by eating rubbish all day. Not really. Um, So, if that's your focus, if you're trying to get 30, 40 grams of protein at breakfast, the same at lunch, same in your evening meal, you've got to prep. You've got to be on it. So I think that's the easy. If anyone's listening to this going, I don't really know where to start, just have a little look up online, do a bit of research on protein, find a protein calculator for your weight, um, and just get a rough idea, and then track things for a week or so. Because I think most people would be pretty surprised that the effect that upping protein. Like, I'm not saying this is the right or wrong thing to do. Please, it's not nutrition advice. But I think if people just took it a bit more, I'm going to eat a little bit more protein for next week, they'd feel more full up. They would have more energy. They wouldn't be snacking and stuff. So
I agree. And it's definitely been the biggest shift in my own dietary needs and how I plan things as well. So I generally don't have my breakfast until about 10:30 every single day. But again, I'm like prioritizing protein and healthy fats, so eggs and avocado, and then I put something with it, so maybe spinach or some cooked tomatoes. But
yeah,
that's the basis. I start every single meal with, well, what's the protein? And then I build around it. And
yeah.
that was a mindset shift. That was something that I had to be really mindful of, but it has made such a massive difference. I don't really snack at all now. I don't even have things in my house to snack. If people come round for like a cup of tea, it's like I've got nothing to go with the tea unless you want like an avocado or some fruit. But I think it's taken a while to get to that point. But now I know that I'm fueling my body with things that are gonna keep me going all day because, much like you, I've got a big vision, I've got a big mission, I've got a lot of clients. I have to do what I can do to keep myself feeling as good as I can so I can serve them at their best. And I think that's such an important thing.
Yeah. Look, 100%. Yeah. I just think the more effective we can be, why wouldn't you want to be like that? Why, if you can go to the farm, be super focused, efficient, effective, and you're either like it's either your business or you're working for someone that appreciates if you get something done quicker, you can sort of go home quicker.
Yeah.
Or I know there'll always be a few sort of dickhead employers that will instead of thanking that, they will just load you up with more and more work. But that's another issue that needs addressing differently. But it this is all measurable. If you've got two people on exactly the same piece of machinery, exactly the same field, soil types, blah blah blah, for the next month, you monitor their output at work. One of them's just eating absolutely awful, not looking after himself, not sleeping properly. He's not getting his steps in, all this sort of stuff. And she's doing everything she should be doing to look after herself, prioritizing herself over everything else. Their outputs at work are going to be vastly different. There's no getting away from that. And I just don't understand why more employers aren't focused on that. And they don't have to be doing monumental gestures. They don't have to be, providing three course well, three-course meal is probably the worst thing you need. Um, but you know, but it's simple welfare facilities. It's making sure people have got the ability to heat something up in a mess room if they want to. You know, um, we've got three restrooms across the farm that I'm involved in, and each one is almost like a mirror version of each. And they've got microwaves, you know, a hot plate and fridges and stuff. So there isn't really any excuse not to be able to sort of eat well at work. So yeah,
I think in this day and age, that's almost got to be the bare minimum. I will say one thing that I love
yeah,
about meal prep as well is I get really bad decision fatigue. Deciding what to have for dinner or deciding what to have for lunch wastes so much of my brain power, it's ridiculous. So when I do my meal prep on a Sunday, I'm like, I'm good for the week, and I eat the same thing for like 3 consecutive days. Then I
yeah,
get really bored of it, and I'm like, right, what's next? But it's
yeah,
just one less thing to think about. I think, and
yeah,
that's also got to be something to consider when we are so bombarded with so many things, so many to-do lists, so many notifications, so much going on.
yeah. You don't even need. I mean, look, I do a bit of meal prep, but I'm not. I'm not as on it as you are, Tara, and I don't get like the whole week planned out. But what I do is make sure probably once a week we get half decent food shopping. So I've got plenty of eggs. I'm getting through them thin steaks, them thin like sandwich steaks pretty quickly at the moment. Plenty of mushrooms, tomatoes, peppers, red onions, sweet potatoes, normal potatoes, chicken thighs, mackerel, salmon. Yeah, that you can knock up so much with all that, and then you've got your staples of, you know, rices, pita breads. Um, I'm not massive on pastas, but if that's your thing, it it's just being responsible, isn't it, for yourself and not blaming, you know, oh, I haven't got time to make anything. Well, you've got time to take 20 minutes out your journey to go to BP garage to get a load of rubbish. So that it don't it's I guess where I think I've nailed it, right. If I get in, first thing I need to do is have a shower. I will make sure there's something going in that air fryer before I get in the shower.
Yeah.
So it's very quick and easy. A couple of chicken thighs, some chopped up roast veg. By the time I'm out of the shower, it's ready. You can't, no one can tell me they haven't got time to cook properly when it can be cooking while you're in the shower.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I think one of the things that will help people with this is probably accountability. And I definitely know that that is something that your people in your network probably really thrive from and benefit from. And I know it's definitely something that a lot of my clients benefit from. I would love for you to share, if you don't mind, a little bit about your own journey in terms of us working together. So through the one-to-one, through the Thrive membership, and I think talking a little bit about that accountability piece as well. What's that journey been like for you? Because obviously you went straight into one-to-one when you decided to start this business 3 years ago. That's a big, scary step. That's an uncomfortable thing to do. I commended it. I think it was a brilliant move. What was it like for you going straight in at that level?
It was really exciting. I think it's probably the biggest emotion initially that I'd stumbled across, you know, someone who I felt like I clicked with straight away. Um, Someone that super positive, knew knew I suppose you knew what you wanted at the time, but you could also see what I wanted or I needed with before I did. Um, I didn't really. I sort of knew that business coaches and you know, mentors and stuff like that existed, but never really thought that access was available to me. Um, but after sort of having a chat, I just thought, well, look, I'm going to have to work with Tara in some capacity. And to me, the where I was at that point, when we first spoke, I'd had about 6 months of not doing much. It was my reset. It's what I gave myself. My wife was incredible in just saying, "Take your time for the next thing, recover." And I needed to recover. People don't allow themselves time sometimes from going from one thing to another. Um, but I just thought after our initial conversation, I was like, I need Tara by my side because she's going to make shit happen quicker than I could on my own. And I suppose that was very much the initial thing. So, the each sort of chat we had, each conversation probably was monthly, if I remember rightly. It was quite structured. Right, where are we now? What's happened since the last time we chatted? Where do we want to be the next time? And that was exactly what I needed. There's some. It wasn't all sort of I've done this, I've done that, blah blah blah. It was going backwards and forwards, but it was having that ability to chat with you, thrash things over, brainstorm, visualize things, and yeah. So I guess I guess the sort of the one-to-one element um, got me to a point where I felt confident in a direction, and then moving on to the Thrive membership, then all of a sudden being around lots of people that I was like, oh my God, these wonderful people are all on the same like mission in their own respective spaces. And this first time really that that had happened to me. And I'd come off the Thrive calls and some of the chats on the Facebook groups and stuff, and sort of say to Emma, my wife, "This is brilliant. This person's trying to do this. This person's doing that. I want to not copy, but I want to follow their sort of
Yeah.
their path, I guess." Yeah, great. Yeah,
The power of bringing people together with the like-minded people, even if they're completely different. There's so many different people in that space, even to this day. There's so many very different businesses, but I think they're all sharing the similar kind of drive that they have. And I think when you bring a group of people like that together, magic happens. I mean, you've seen it for yourself firsthand with the Farm Staff Network. It's incredible, I
yeah,
think, what can happen when you get a really good group of people together.
yeah. It's just being around the right people, isn't it? And you naturally attracts the right people into your network, and um, it's like a conduit. It's bringing things together. It's encouraging people to thrive, to flourish. Um, quite quickly, there people were asking questions that they'd obviously sat on for quite a long time, but they were getting answers so quickly and things to put in place. And then you catch up the next month and they're like, oh yeah, I did this. I went away and tweaked that, and this has happened. I've made these sales, or blah blah blah. A lot of conversations were coming back to sort of like self-worth, not pricing accordingly, and having that confidence within a group to go, no, you are smashing it. You should be at this level or whatever. It was just, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say to somebody that's on the fence about joining or doing some work?
I think look, I come across it all the time. I see farmers that are, and this was me, only 2 or 3 years ago, that just trying to do it all yourself. That just think there's no other option apart from grinding on your own and figuring shit out. Well, there is options, and I think people will be amazed at how quickly momentum can build when you are around the right people. I think that's my overriding feeling with all of this. that that people have to find their own tribes. They have to work out stuff. They have to work out who's bringing good stuff into their life and who's sucking the life out of them sometimes. But what you've built, what you're continually developing all the time is encouragement, positivity, is uh, just improving yourself, and that just can't be a bad thing to be around that.
Yeah. It's so important, I think, who you surround yourself with and the conversations you have and the energy that you let into your into your vibe, because it makes such a massive difference. So yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. So what's next? What can your audience look forward to? What's in the pipeline? What's the future for Thrive in Farming? $1 million question.
I think um, like personally, I'm striving all the time um to enjoy my life more and more, and that's with my little family. That's with my wider group of friends, but that's also the people I'm working with. And I'm not too rigid in that approach, Tara. I know like the family stuff, the things we want to do and achieve, um, financially, I have to work hard. I have to be building stuff. I have to be adding income streams to sort of achieve those goals. And I don't mind talking about, it's not a bad thing to talk about money, and that we sometimes what we want to achieve, we need to earn decent money. There's no shame in talking like that. Um, I think that the three levels of my business, so the practical farm work, the sort of people recruitment retainment element of thriving farming, and then the farm staff network, all really complement each other really well. I think in time there'll be a like a shift of income across the elements. The farm work I absolutely love and enjoy, but it's determined on me being there and doing a job physically. I'm not I'm not probably not going to walk away. Well, I've got no intention basically on slowing down on that. So that means thriving farming and the farm staff network have to grow. Um, they have to grow in client base. They have to grow in membership in the farm staff network, and they have to provide me with more income. So I think um, recruitment will only become more and more efficient in my world the more I do it. The network of candidates I'm always building. Um, so I like to think, maybe now that I'm dealing with one or two clients a month, could naturally step up to three or four as I get smarter at it. Um, I think the farm staff network, I, I, I just can't help. It will grow and grow. I think in an ideal world, when we start doing things more in person, I'd like to. I envisage having like regional elements to that. It's almost like an East Anglian group, a Midwest, Southwest, a Midlands. I don't see why I shouldn't be dreaming big like that. Um, and there's other little bits and bobs going on in the background with other sort of business ideas. So I think I think it's all exciting. There's loads of ideas. I have to keep reining myself in about where the focus needs to be. That's so important. Um, I I enjoy the food stuff, the making a few videos and this sort of element of it. And I think it's important to keep doing that, because there is people that are following me because of that end up being my um, clients off the back of liking my approach to stuff. So I suppose what I'm getting at, Tara, is I'm enjoying what I'm doing. there's going to be growth in all elements, probably quite organic growth as well. I'm very, very open-minded. If anyone wants to have a chat about anything, whether it's something I'm currently doing or something they think they'd like me to be part of, I'm all ears. Let's chat. You can always say no to things, can't you? But if you don't have those conversations, you'll never know. Um, so yeah, that's probably not really answered your question, but
So lots of exciting things in the pipeline is what I'm hearing, which is great. And it's so good having all of those ideas and things you want to do. But again, I think your whole business, all three elements of it, are so people focused. So, like you said, if anyone's got ideas about a collaboration, about connecting, about doing something together, reach out. I will pop Ben's social media links in the show notes below. So make sure you go and connect. Let him know what you've enjoyed about this episode. And if you've got any ideas of collaboration or things you can do together, I think absolutely reach out. Is there anything else you would like to share today before we wrap up?
just like if you want to see, I guess a bit more of a realistic, everyday sort of what's happening in my world, farming wise, business, health and well-being. My Instagram page is that. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. That's a slightly different, not overly different approach, but it's a bit more to the point, a bit more business. And yeah, if you're interested in the Farm Staff Network, just drop me a message on either platform, and we'll chat.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your vision, your mission, your purpose, all the good things. And thank you for what you're doing in the farming space. It's so needed, and I'm so excited to see what the next few years has in store for you.
Thanks, Tar. I really appreciate that.
Pleasure.